one I've seen. The first one I've actually seen where one of our realtors had a listing. The client went in subject free, and then they had the rescission period, of course. So we got the 3 days, and at the end of this rescission period, they tied up the property for 3 days. And then at the very last minute, kind of, 11th hour, 5 o'clock on the day of the rescission that was supposed to go past the rescission, they asked to put a subject in for finance. And it's like, it's kind of crazy when you go subject free. Well, the consequence of that was that, I told a realtor, well, don't, you may not want to take that, accept a subject now, because it could revoke the rescission period, and that they're removing because of their subject, not because of the rescission period. So I said, just ignore it for now. Let them pay the rescission amount, and then they can put another offer in after if they want. But no, we're holding their feet to the fire. And she was kind of choked because they had tied up the property for 3 or 4 days. She had multiple offers, could have taken another offer, and these guys were just, goofing around. They said that their broker screwed up or whatever it was. So just be careful about that. If you're going in, I don't ever suggest going in subject free, but we're getting into that crazy market again. I don't like it. I don't like it on behalf of buyers, and it's probably not that good for sellers either. It's tough on realtors. We don't know what to tell our guys. You're looking at these properties, and you look at some of these minutes, and they're they're a little questionable. They got repairs to be done and all, so on and so forth. And at least you got 3 days to look at it. But the problem with that, if you go subject free, yeah, you got 3 days to look at it. But if you decide not to buy it at the end of those 3 days, your client's going to have to pay the 0.25%. In this case, it was the one I'm talking about was a smaller property. It was 500,000-600,000, so they only had to pay about $1,500. But if your clients are first-time buyers, $1,500 is a lot of money. It's like they're trying to save for the down payment and all that other stuff. So really be careful about that, guys. And I really wouldn't suggest going in subject free on these if you can help it. Sometimes apartments are a little better to go subject free than maybe a house, because at least with an apartment building, you get all the strata documents, and you get all of the engineer's reports, you get all the depreciation reports, the minutes. So you get a kind of a picture of what it looks like, before you buy it. And a lot of times what I'll do when I'm working with my clients, especially now, is I'll ask for the strata docs up front before we even look at it, so we're not wasting our time on crappy properties. And what I'll do with these strata documents when I get them is I'm going to do a really quick review of them. I'm not talking reading them, word for word all the way through. I'm going to hit the high parts of that. So if my tour says that I'm going to do 5 or 6 properties on the weekend, or 4, I usually don't do. Cheryl, how many properties do you do when you do a tour? Just asking you.
How many properties do I do with a tour?
Yeah, on a 1-day tour. Say you got on 1 day with a client, they're shopping.
I don't do more than 4.
Yeah, and I agree. I don't do 4 is getting 5 is a little bit much. And
yeah, 4 is already, that's probably tops for me.
Yeah, and they start forgetting which appliances or which layout was which, and I'm the same way. I'm like, oh, I don't remember what that was. That stainless steel, or was that those green ones? The green appliances kind of thing. And you mix them up, and then they move in and they say, well, where's those nice stainless steel? Oh, that was the other one we looked at, kind of thing. So yeah, you want to keep it to a minimum. So maybe you're going out Saturday, Sunday, but I'll do 1 day at a time. But what I'll do is I'll ask for the strata docs up front. When I'm doing my all of my organizing, I'll ask the realtor to send strata docs. Normally they have them, or they have some part of them, or whatever they got. If they don't have them, I'm like, oh, I don't know. But if you're a listing agent, you should have the strata docs. You should have ordered them, and you should have them to send out to people. The other thing about strata docs, just on that note there, I got strata docs that were half-assed. Half of them were there, they're missing things and all that kind of stuff. Let me tell you, as a buyer's agent, that doesn't sit very well with me, because it looks like there's half the stuff missing. What your job as a listing agent to do is to make it easier for the buyers to say yes to your property. So get all your strata documents together, get them all organized, so they're not all little bits and pieces here and there, and they're looking all over for them. And if there is a problem with the property, put it out front. Yes, we have an issue here. There's an assessment. The seller's going to pay it. It's all taken care of, or there's some work to be done, but it's priced appropriately. So you don't get, somebody trying to lowball you. You say, well, I've already put that in the price. I'll put that in my comments. It's already accounted for. I priced it appropriately based on this, and I put it up front. And to me, when you're buying a property, it makes it a lot easier. If the buyer has to discover these things, it's going to be, it's not going to look that good on you. If they go through all the stuff and at the end of all this, after they put an offer and all that, they find something, there's an assessment on the property that could be a deal breaker. It doesn't do anybody any good. You put your seller through all of this, they put their buyer through all this. If they would have disclosed it up front, maybe they could have dealt with that sooner and maybe give a lesser price or whatever it is. So, don't be afraid of negative things. Karen, you got a question?
Oh, no, just to add to what you're saying, I had a buyer's tour on Saturday, and there's this one property, and he's saying, oh, the strata docs are coming on Monday, but he has a DRPO on Wednesday. And it's Tuesday today, and he still doesn't have the docs. Like, they haven't been sent to me. And so I'm just like, it's the first time I've been to an open where they didn't have the docs ready. I know that it happens a lot, but I was just surprised. And I'm like, are you trying to pull a fast one here? Because further to that, he was also the property manager of this unit. So I'm thinking that if there is any problems, he should know. I've asked him if he knows of anything coming down, and he's like, oh, the docs are going to be here on Monday. So that's one situation. And then there was another odd situation that doesn't have to do with the strata docs, but I'll tell you about that after. But can you comment on that?
Yeah, we'll go ahead, whatever it is. Yeah, that's what we're here for.
Well, I mean, what's your sense of that?
Of what?
Of not DRPO tomorrow, no strata docs.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
The thing is, guys, the listing agent's there to sell the property and remove the obstacles for the guys to say yes. So if you have them up front there, and if they're up front and there's a problem, then you can incorporate that into your offer, and you're not going to go your subject free. So you don't want to go get a subject free offer. They go through the rescind period, they get these documents, and then they don't want to buy it, and they back out because now they haven't put subjects in because there were multiple offers. So now the poor buyer is paying a rescission fee for backing out of something that they shouldn't have probably bought in the first place because there wasn't enough information on it.
Mm-hmm.
So no, I don't. Part of the listing, when you do a listing, you have to have a document that says you're authorized to order that stuff. But I think I would go one step further, especially in today's market. If you think that you're going to do these open houses on the weekend and then have offers on the Tuesday, which a lot of them are going back to, and you got to do disclosure of offer presentations, order your strata docs now. And get them in the and what I'll do when I'm doing a listing like that is I'll probably go in a week or 10 days before the client, and I'll get them to I'll do one of two things when I'm doing the listing. I'll get them to sign an exclusive listing agreement for a week, in which case I've got their signature, and at the end of that week, it'll go to the MLS listing. It'll automatically go online. But the exclusive listing gives me the right to order the documents and pay some money. I don't want to put money out until I have their signature. So the exclusive listing doesn't go on the MLS. It's not out there yet. So I'll have a week where I can do my photos, I can do my, order my documents, and then I'm not paying for a rush. And then the listing starts, you have to show it within 5 days and so on and so forth. Then you have your disclosure of representation going forward. You'll have all that in order, but for a good realtor, you should have all that all set up and ready to go in order and have addressed any issues. You should have, as a listing realtor, read through those documents and know what the problems are and address the problems up front. I've had ones where I've got the strata documents and I called the realtor or I emailed the realtor and said, hey, look, on page 29 of the depreciation report or whatever it was, it says that there's, I think it was in the minutes or something, it says there's an engineer's report. Was this work ever completed? He says, well, I don't know anything about it. Well, you ought to. You're the one selling it. If you don't know what you're selling, so it's the listing realtor's responsibility to know what they're selling, and if they've got a problem, they should put it up front, and it makes it easier for everybody. Now, a lot of realtors don't even do that. So for you guys being out there, you're gonna have to compensate for their negligence. Because, you know, when you're out there, you gotta ask yourself, who are you working for? And it's your buyer. And if your buyer wants to buy it, you want to get the best place you can for them. And if that happens to be the place, then you want to make sure you can kind of get around this person who isn't reading documents, isn't doing their job, and make sure you're doing your job and your due diligence and read these documents and find out what it is. So does that kind of answer your question, Karen, on that one?
Yeah, I think I'm just gonna call him after this and just say, can you level with me? What's going on with this building?
Well, yeah, and you know, he's in a bit of a conflict of interest. He's the building manager as well. You know, it's kind of like,
The unit property manager, from what I understood.
well, you mean he's just, yeah, well, still it's a conflict. He's managing it. He shouldn't, you know, in that case, not the building manager, so he may not have access to all of the strata docs, but as a building manager would. So maybe I misunderstood what you're saying about him, but anyway, yeah, call him and ask him, call him out on it, say, what do you know about it? He may not know. As a property manager, we do property management in the office, by the way, guys.
Mhm.
And you guys are all licensed to do tenant placement. But I wouldn't suggest you new realtors do that, because you're going to spend, you know, 3 months trying to find somebody a place. You're going to get paid maybe a half a month's rent. There's no guarantee you're going to get paid at all. And you get, you know, $1,000 or whatever. And you've spent 3 months on it. If you go out with a buyer and you sell something in 3 months, you'll probably get something like $10,000 for your commission. So don't do your tenant placement. But we do property management in the office. I'm the property manager, managing broker as well. So they may or may not know what's going on with the building. They don't really deal with that. They more deal with the month to month and the renters and so on and so forth. So I don't know. Not going to get too much into that. But what I'm saying, guys, is that you know, if you're a listing agent, get the documents up front. If there's a problem, you know, get that on the table right away. Don't be afraid of it. It's not your fault. You know, if the place has got a leak in it, it's not your fault. Don't feel bad about it. You got to disclose it, you know, and you might as well disclose it up front so that your negotiations go a lot smoother. And when you do get an accepted offer, it's going to go through. You know, if you got something that's hidden away and you're afraid of it, it's going to come back and bite you in the ass, and you can do all this work on it, get an offer accepted. They're going to come back. We looked at strata docs. We don't like this. We don't like that. We're not buying it. We're moving out, or we're backing out of it. So just a little bit about that. So let me kind of go into my little notepad here. I wanted to talk a little bit about deposits. So when you get an accepted offer and you're the buyer's agent, your client will pay a deposit to the office normally. What I have in my clause is I have the deposit will be paid within 1 business day of final subject removal by way of bank draft, wire transfer, or bank wire. So I got everything covered in there. It could be anything. I don't care what they do. They can wire it to me. They can give me a bank draft. They can send it directly to the office, whatever they can't wire it to me. They can wire it to the office. So whatever they can. But what I found out consequently, and I kind of knew about this, is that I had a client that wired the money, but it's not when they wire the money, it's when the office receives it. They wired the money on the Friday. It didn't come in on the Monday from they went to the credit union and wired the money. Apparently, they got a receipt of the wire transfer. Didn't come in Monday, didn't come in Tuesday. And it wasn't until Wednesday or Tuesday it came in late, because I said, look, we don't have it yet. And he went to the bank, canceled the wire because it hadn't gone through, got a bank draft and took the bank draft to CIBC and deposited directly to our account, and it showed up on our account. That's when we received it. It's when you receive it. The consequence of that is I had to have a late deposit filled out and send it to the listing agent saying, sorry, we're late with the deposit. And it could have cost us the deal, because we were in breach of contract at that point in time. But there's nothing I could do. But we did get it in. I didn't say anything about it. I just kept my mouth shut and ducked my head, you know, mouth shut, head down, and off you go. They didn't say anything, and it went through. So they could have backed out of that had they had another offer. That's kind of the scary part of that. So if you're dealing with a bank, talk to your client up front about your deposit. Have that discussion before you put or when you put your offer in, or before you. Usually I do that before I'm going to put the offer in. I'll have a meeting with the client, say, how much do you have down? Where's the money coming from? Is it coming from your RSP? Okay, if your RSP is at the Royal Bank, you're going to have to go to the Royal Bank and withdraw it, put it in your savings account. It's going to probably take them 2 or 3 days to withdraw it and put it in your savings account. If you got a line of credit that's going to cover the whole thing, that's fine. And you can pay that back with your RSP later on. Not a problem at all. But make sure you know how much money they have. If they're getting it from mom and dad, that mom and dad have transferred the money to their account so that they can issue it right away. Sometimes we get mom and dad paying the deposit directly to us. That's okay. There's a little bit of with FinTrack, it gets a little dicey because are we buying for a third party? And no, they're not. You know, the mom and dad are kicking in, but it looks a little funny, you know, so just be careful about that preferably, but do have that discussion with your client about the deposit, how it's going to be paid, how much is going to be paid, and what happens at the end of the contract. When we remove subjects, you have to have the money in hand ready to go. Are you ready with that? You can go get me a bank draft, you can give it to me, whatever, hand it to me. And your job as a realtor, you don't have to, I mean, if it's the weekend, and usually it is, it's a Friday night, you know, 4 or 5 o'clock, you get the draft. Your job, you know, if you get it, your job is to get it to the office as soon as possible. So if you go into the office, we got, I don't know, I have to talk about Mike about that, but we used to slide it under the conveyancer's door, you know, Daisy's door, the glass door, and downstairs there. So we got a new conveyancing office. So we'll probably have a little letter thing where you can put your draft in there, or they can wire transfer. But keep in mind, guys, it's not when your client sends the bank draft, it's when, or the wire transfer, it's when we receive it. So you got to call Daisy every day and say, is it there? Is it there yet? Is there yet? Is there yet? And she gets calls like that all the time. It's kind of scary. So just be aware of that. That's for your deposits, guys. If you have any questions about those, talk to me beforehand when you're doing a deal, getting it ready to go, setting it up. We'll have a chat and we'll make sure you're clear on those, that your client is clear on that, because you want your client to have a positive experience through the whole thing. You don't want any last minute stuff going on, you know, this or that or something else. So, you know, work a little harder, have those discussions with your client when you got the deposit. Usually, you know, you have that discussion right up front. I want to talk a little bit about backup offers now. What is a backup offer? What you're going to find is that, you know, when you're out here with these multiple offers, and, you know, these guys are getting now, you know, 9-10 offers on the property, and maybe you have some really good ones, and this might have helped a realtor that lost out on the one deal because the guy backed out after the rescind period. They didn't even have their financing together. So people are making stuff up. I mean, I would have a big problem with that realtor if I were the buyer and I lost, you know, $1,500 or $1,600 because this guy didn't advise me correctly on the rescission. So if you look at these rescission forms that are online, they're all over online, they're on the contract and everything else. If you're in that situation, you get a multiple offer and somebody goes in subject free, and maybe you come up as the second offer. Now, the best offer isn't always the most money. You could have, and we'll talk for you guys in the Realty 101, talk about that more, but just give you a quick example. You might have an offer for $750 with subjects, subject to financing, subject to inspection, so on and so forth. They want a week or 10 days to remove subjects. You might have another offer that's a cash offer that they've got the cash, they've got a couple $100,000 down, and it's 700,000 or 720,000, say. And your client says, if they sign, if you tell your client if they sign other than the rescission period, if they sign on this now, it's done. It's a done deal. They can't back out other than the rescission period. The rescission period has kind of changed that around a little bit. But if they do back out, they're going to have to pay the rescission amount. So they're more likely to close than not. But sometimes it does happen. So you've got that situation. So not always the highest offer is the best offer. It could be one with less subjects or whatever the case might be. But anyway, let's say they accepted an offer at $750. You were kind of second in line. They went subject free. You had subject. You had subject to financing, subject to inspection, whatever. But they were both for $750. The other guy went subject free. They got the rescission period. So if you go in as backup, then if this guy backs out, you come up to first place and they've already accepted your offer. You don't have to renegotiate it. It just comes into place. It's already accepted. But this one's got to get, the first offer has to get out of the way. It has to move out of the way. So we're going to look at a little bit of about that on you want to have a backup offer. We're going to go into clauses a little bit here. Let me find where I'm at here. Just give me a sec here. I got to find the page I was on. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna share my screen with you guys. Sorry, it's having a little technical difficulty here. You get my Zoom back up again. Maybe I'm not a host here. Mike, are you there still?
Yeah,
Who's the host guy here?
hang on. I'm a host. I'm a host and,
Okay, I think I can share now.
okay, I can hear you. Yeah, you're all good.
All right, so let me just go back to that.
I saw at some point that Angel became the host. I saw that.
She fixed it.
All right,
There
can
you
you guys see my, this is my web forms page? So what I'm gonna do here, if you see, this is your dashboard. If you go down here to the little wheel clogs, you can click on that. In here, you can go down here and look at this. This is all, you can find out information about web forms in here, how to deal with, how to link DocuSign in there, all that kind of thing. But what I'm looking for is clauses here. And what I'm gonna do on my clauses, I'm gonna just hit backup. I'm looking for a clause, I'm gonna get backup. What happened here? Back up. Try this again. Why is that disappearing here? So this is the clause you want. Usually what I'll do on the top of my offer, the first line will be in black, in big black letters. This is a backup offer. And it's subject to the seller ceasing to be obligated. And you put this in as the buyer, you put this in on, and that's for the benefit of the seller, not you. But what it says, subject to the seller ceasing to be obligated in any way under the contract of purchase and sale dated, whatever the date of their contract is, they can fill that in. Respecting the property, including the seller's obtaining a full release from the buyer, and so on and so forth. So when you're going as a backup, you want to make sure that the seller doesn't sell the property twice. And this is the clause that you use on that one there. They can fill in some of the stuff there, but this is for the benefit of the sole benefit of the seller, not the buyer. But it's also a benefit to you as this buyer's agent, because you certainly don't want to buy the house and somebody else has already bought it, kind of thing. So you want to use that backup clause. The pros and cons to that is that the seller can give the original offer an extension. So if they need an extension for whatever it is, now if it's a subject free offer, there ought not be any extensions, in which case you'd be up to case in the case that I just explained to you, where they backed out and asked for subject to financing, they're out. You couldn't, the seller couldn't renegotiate that if they wanted. They you know, that kind of thing, if they're changing the price on that one there. So you would come up first on the backup. The problem with that is that it ties up the seller, and that they can't negotiate prices and stuff like that on the offer. If they come back and say we want to pay a lesser price, they can't negotiate that. The other offer's up. It ties up the buyer, because you don't want to be you can't go and put another offer in another house or property, because if you get accepted another house and then this guy backs out, you've got two accepted offers, and you're, you know, of course you're going to back out of one, but ethically you can't do that. Now that kind of leads me to another thing in my mind, is that people are putting up double offers in now with this rescission period, and they're putting 2 and 3 offers in at the same time. Not a good thing. It's not ethical. Because technically what can happen is that person could have bought 3, if they're all accepted at the same time, they could have bought all 3 of them. So be careful about that in the backup offers and going forward. That's some of the clauses. Just going to go back to sharing that again. And we're going to go to here, close that. This is where you're going to find all of the clauses on this is on web forms. So if you're looking for a clause, guys, you need something, go into the clauses and search that. You can go into here, we can put time in here, a time clause. That one comes up. So you get a lot of different answers, but you've got to sift through that and find it, the one that you're looking for on this one here. This is the time clause is looking for. This would be if you put an offer in subject to the sale of your property. So your guy's listed as property. They haven't sold it yet, but they want to find some place to move before they move, or before they sell, because they got nowhere to go. This is the biggest problem we have in real estate right now. A lot of people would like to list their homes, but they're going to tell you, I've got nowhere to go. And that's a big problem. So there is another clause here that's called the 72, I call it the 72-hour clause because I always put 72 hours in here. And what this clause says is that basically, I'll buy your house for the price that you want and everything's done. I've done all my due diligence on it, inspection, all that, but it's still subject to the sale of my house. I have to sell my house before I can close in your house. And what this clause says is it says to the seller that, okay, Mr. Seller, you can accept that offer. That's okay. But if you get another offer in the meantime, you can still market your house. And if you get another offer that comes in the door and you get an accepted offer, what you can do is you can give the accepted offer a time clause. Usually it's 72 hours, 24 hours, 48 hours, 72. 72 hours less holidays, Sundays and statutory holidays. So that means that if I'm the seller and you're the buyer, and I get somebody else wants to come and buy the house and give me a good offer that I like, I'm going to call you up, the buyer, and say, or give me a written notice saying, look, you got 72 hours to remove subjects. And if you don't, your deal's dead and I'm going to accept the other offer. That's the 72-hour clause. So then you've got that time and your buyer is going to have to decide whether or not to, take a chance and remove subjects and become a firm offer and that's it, or they walk away. So that's what that clause is all. That's a little bit of a more complicated clause, not for newbies, but if you come across something like this, give me a call. We'll kind of go over it and how it works. Cheryl, have you ever used one? Have you ever used the 72-hour clause?
No, I have not used the 72-hour clause. Come close to a situation like that, but no.
Have you ever used it, Amir? Amir, are you still there?
I have.
Yeah, didn't we go through that with you? And it was real touchy because you have to time it just right. That this guy's going to run away and all that. It gets pretty hairy in there, and you have to really sit down and think about what that 72 hours is, because if you're going to accept another offer, you want them. You don't want any subjects on the other offer either, because you could, if the other offer has subjects, and you give your initial offer, the buyer, a 72-hour clause, and the 72 hours expires and they don't remove subjects and they move on, then the new offer, they have subjects, and if you don't remove subjects, you got nothing. So you want to give the backup offer, in this case, opportunity, or the other offer. It's not a backup offer. It's a new offer. It's kind of a backup offer, same thing, but it's not quite. You want to give them time to make sure they're done, do their due diligence, inspections, financing, all that stuff. They waived all that, and maybe you give them the 72 hours to do the final thing that they need, the inspection, and then they got to get that done within 72. Give you notice it's his unconditional offer now, and the other guy's gone. So it's pretty tricky. Do you want to comment on what happened with yours at all, Amir, or you kind of?
I mean, we tried doing that. Eventually, my clients, because they were having such a hard time with this clause, we ended up waiting to sell. They ended up waiting to sell their home, and then they went and decided to buy the next home. So all those clauses, it was just not. It wasn't working out for whatever home we were going in, or whoever's coming to buy their home to. So we were on both, because we were trying to sell their home and help them buy a new home. And both sides, whenever we got offers with clauses all the time, so it was just difficult. So we ended up selling their home and then going into the next home.
Yeah, and that was in a tighter market, I think. It was a little more of a buyer's market, I think, back in about a year ago.
Yeah.
So these clauses, they need some consideration, guys, but do talk to your mentors, your fellow realtors, myself, Michael, about them. you know, before you get into them. And you want to have it all figured out before you go there. The other place I want to kind of show you, I'm just going to share again quickly. The other place for clauses that I like to go, I'm going to close that. I'm going to go to my Google little thing there. I'm going to put clauses. And I'm going to type BCFSA behind it. And that takes me right to the into here, into the BCFSA website for clauses. And then you can start searching for clauses, whatever assignment, adding an additional name, assignment to an additional buyer, backup offers. Here's your backup offer one, just talking about that a little bit. Cooperative, that's when you're buying a co-op, not a co-op is kind of like a leasehold, not a freehold. So you can look into that. But you know, do look through here, guys, and just kind of, here's your deposit and when it should be paid and all that, payable within a specific period. You can look into that, see what's going on there. It helps you a little bit. It does have some good clauses in here. They're the same as the ones in web forms, but that's where to look. Just type BCFSA and put clauses, or what I do a lot of time. We're having a lot of problems with assignments, or adding this name. So I do assignments. And then I type BCFSA. After that in my Google search. And here's your assignment guidelines. So that takes you right, always type BCFSA behind it, and it gives you some guidelines on how to do, you know, how to put an extra name on your contract and so on and so forth, forms to use, and you know, that's the notice of assignment to the seller and so on and so forth. So BCFSA is a good resource. Put that at the end of your question. A lot of times it'll come up with the answer. So a couple of places to look there for your clauses. You can also make custom clauses if you want to do that. I'll just go back to that, and I'll do that real quickly for you. I got to get into. I think I jumped out of my web forms. Here's your web forms. If you go into clauses here, let's go back here. Personal clauses. So what I can do here, if I'm in BCFSA and I want to put a clause in there, I can copy this. I'm just using this as an example. Copy.
You're not sharing at the moment.
Okay. Sorry, I'm blabbing by myself here off on my little own tangent. Okay, where's that? Share. What I did is I went into BCFSA, I just paste and copy whatever the clause is. I'm going to go back to clauses. In clauses here, I'm going to just going to start over there. I'm going to go to clauses. I'm going to go once clauses open, I'm going to open up personal clauses. And then, can you see my? Are you guys in web forms? Then I'm going to put add a new clause. Type it in here, paste it. I'm going to call this one the time clause, and I'll save it. Now, when I'm looking for clauses, it'll be in there in my. It'll be in there. I'll just go to here, clauses. If you look at the little, these are the ones I made up. I shouldn't say that. You're not supposed to make up clauses, but every once in a while you find that there just isn't a clause for whatever it is you're doing. So you want to work with me on it. We'll get you a proper clause for it. But if I open that up, I'm going to go down here. I've got little ones that I made up. I'll look for the time clause. Here it is here. And that's the one, it shows the little man there. That means it's a personal clause. That's the clause I just put in there. So that's how to make a personal clause, but try not to use those, guys. They're the reason that the clauses are made by lawyers out of the real estate board and real estate council for us. And at the very best, what I'll do is I'll take one of their clauses, I'll modify it slightly just to fit my situation that I'm in. I don't want to write my whole new clause. I don't want to get into that. Try not to do that. you hear the older realtors saying, oh, I've used that clause forever, I made it up and it's fine. Well, the only reason it's fine is it never was tested in court. They could have written it that it unintentionally has some consequences that could void the contract or whatever it might be. So try and stick with the clause in there. That keeps us on the straight and narrow going forward. But you've got two sources to find clauses. You got web forms, which is really good. It has, and the ones in BCFSA or the other one, and they're almost the same. So you can go in there for a little bit of guidance on that one there going forward. Is there any questions on the clauses part here? Okay, I want to talk about releases, unconditional releases. Now, a lot of people want an unconditional release for a sale. We're not talking about an unconditional release for a sale. What if your deal doesn't go through? What if you don't want to remove subjects? What do you do? Do you have to get an unconditional release form? What do you do? Actually, it's just an addendum to the contract. So you add an addendum to the contract and you put in the addendum, you know, the buyer is not going to remove subjects and hereby releases the seller from any and all obligations to this contract. That's all you do. Send it to the sales agent and they're off. Now, the reason we do that sometimes is it's a professional courtesy. We could just let the subjects expire and the deal's done. It's dead after it expires. Or you can send that if you know you're going to get out of it early and your guy isn't going to close. It's a professional courtesy to the selling realtor to let them try and sell it to somebody else and get out of the way. Don't tie the property up for the seller because you got another 5 days on it. Now, when you're doing your subject removal, don't remove your subjects in the first 3 days during the rescission period. The rescission period and your subject removal period are concurrent. They run concurrently. So wait until the 4th day to send it because there's some confusion as to whether or not they'll be liable to pay the rescission period 0.25%. So if you've got a 5-day subject, just wait till the end of the 3rd day and send it on the 4th. But just send, if they're going to back out, just send an addendum saying that they're no longer obligated. Is there any questions about that? Okay, good. I'm going to do one more thing. I'm going to share one more time. It's the real estate board market update comes in a little late. It's just what we talked about last week, but it's a video on actual for May. So I'm going to share that with you. It's 2 minutes. Just bear with me on that one. Put that up. I'll go share. Go here. Can you see the, I thought that was our office for a minute, but it's not.
Activity remaining below historical norms. Home sales in Metro Vancouver mounted a surprising comeback in April. Let's take a closer look. Realtors registered over 2,700 home sales on the MLS. This is a 17% decrease over this time last year and is 16% below the 10-year April sales average. Sellers listed about 4,300 homes on the MLS, which is a 30% decrease compared to this time last year and is 22% below the 10-year average for new listings in April. April ended with about 8,800 homes listed for sale on the MLS across the region. This is a 4% decrease compared to this time last year and is 21% below the 10-year seasonal average. One tool we use to gauge demand in the market is the sales to active listings ratio. This ratio measures the homes available for sale against the number of homes sold throughout the month. Analysis of historical data suggests downward pressure when prices occurs when this ratio dips below 12% for a sustained period. Home prices often experience upward pressure when it surpasses 20% over several months. April ended with this ratio at 33% for all homes. By property type, the ratio was 24% for detached homes, 40% for townhomes, and 37% for condos. This brings the MLS HPI benchmark price for all housing types in Metro Vancouver to $1,170,000. This is about 7% below this time last year and is a 2% increase from last month. Rising prices and sales rebounding this spring indicates home buyers are returning with confidence after a challenging year for the housing market. Why are prices increasing with such high borrowing costs?
You know what?
We've been seeing near record low inventory levels so far this year. So this resurgence in demand is creating competitive conditions, which translated to price increases. For further housing market information, go to the Market Watch section of our website.
Okay, I just made one little mistake on that, guys. Anybody know what it is? That was April again. They didn't update it. I thought they updated it, so I was giving the April. So that's the May is even more than that. So it's even more. So watch for the May one. I'm gonna stop sharing here. You know. Sorry, that was April again, but it's nonetheless, it got even faster. I think it's the sales to active is even higher than that. So the market is spinning up, prices are going up. It's getting crazy again. The interest rate change, the 0.25% is, you know, too little too late. Should have done it a long time ago. They need to get a handle on the housing market. It's, you know, I mean, it's not, people think that, you know, the higher the price, the better realtors do. It's not the case. We make our money on the transaction, not the price for the most part. So, you know, it's not good for the market. I don't think going up that high. I think it needs to be a little more reasonable. That's my opinion going forward. Mike, that's it for me. You got something you want to talk about?
Yeah, good job, Doug. Thank you. Couple talking points from what you presented. Tenant placement, I would disagree with Doug a bit on that one. Tenant placement is a good opportunity to make money and to secure a potential customer in the long term. So if you have somebody, you can ask Angel or send it to me and I can post it in our chat group for the property managers if anybody's sitting on what it is that your customer's looking to rent. It's, you know, it's quite simple to do it that way. If you don't have it, we'll get back to you and say we don't have any in the inventory, and then you can spend some time and look for it. But I wouldn't take it off the plate. We've got some property managers that make some really good income from tenant placement. Karen?
Just to be crystal clear, with tenant placement versus property management versus being a realtor. So as a realtor, you can tenant place, but not property manage. You need a specific license for that. But is it conflict of interest to be the realtor for the unit and the property manager if you have both licenses?
That's a Doug answer. I don't believe so.
Well, I'd have to talk to my lawyer, as BCFSA would say. Sorry, what's the question? It's like the one you're talking about here, right?
Yeah, it was the same one. Well, you talked about as a realtor, we can tenant place. But if you have a property management license and a real estate license, you can do both on the same unit. Is that correct?
Yeah, you
Or is
could,
it a
you can
conflict
buy
of
and sell. Well, your agency is for the seller or the owner. The
Mhm.
seller and the owner will be the one the same. If they're selling it or whatever, or buying it, you're their agent. You're not the agent of the tenant.
Oh, no, of course not.
But right now we're talking about the Karens of the world that are just licensed realtors. So just you
Wow.
can attend. Well, that's what I meant though, right? I mean, that was the question. If you're a licensed realtor and you have somebody that's looking for a rental, then at least ask the question to see if you can help out your friend or your customer find a rental. I wouldn't just say, no, I can't do it.
Well, yeah, but the
That's my
issue,
message.
that's fine, Mike. The only issue is just be careful, guys, that you're gonna get paid. We don't have a system in BC like it is in Ontario. I think they have a system where, you know, it's on the MLS and you get paid a half a month's rent. Depending on where you find that, if you place them, the landlord is not obligated to pay you a commission or a finding fee. You have to negotiate that. So just be aware of that. And that's what I'm saying is this, it's a little more complicated, but yeah, go ahead. If
Yeah.
you think you got the time to, you know, run them around and find them a place, that's fine. I mean, we got lots of those come calling into the office all the time. But you know, I'm just saying, just be careful. You know, if you spend all your time doing that, you may miss out on an opportunity, you know, for a sale. But if you got the time, by all means, do it. Just make sure you're going to get paid. My job is to make sure you guys get paid.
Yeah, and Doug, you're mentioning deposits. Right now we will have a deposit box for both property managers putting rental checks in and our realtors putting bank drafts in. But the boxes aren't up yet. So if you have something, take a picture of it, slide it underneath my door. That way it's secure. My door is locked and no one can see underneath it. And then you can just email Daisy at New Dot Sales that the check is there. The staff have a key to my office, so it will get picked up. And then for checking to see if your wire transfers came in, easier, I think, for the Daisies of the world, if we just email her and say, we have a bank draft coming in at this amount from this person, can you check the account to see if it's in? Because then she'll reply to you in writing that we have a deposit, and then that's your evidence to tell the other side that the deposits it's in. I'm saving the best for last. I've got Ani Real Estate's going to start sharing some projects that are coming up and maybe some leftover units that they're still trying to sell. And so is MLA Realty. Both companies I have a really good relationship with. So that's going to come. They say that towards the summer, they're working on other things, not the projects. So, but we're trying to get them to give us some content and some inventory in the summer for their fall launch. If you have another developer that you want to hear from, just text me the developer's name and I'll make the personal call and we'll get presented on that. And finally, July 22nd, the company barbecue at our house. It's been a few years since we've been allowed to do it. So mark that in your calendar. I forget what the cost is. It's a contribution to Easter Seals. It's not a cost. So I think, if my memory serves me well, it's $30 per person or $50 for a family. 100% goes to Easter Seals, the Camp Squamish, and Heather and I host a wonderful spread with everything that you can think of. And all we ask is that you if you're going to drink, don't drive, and enjoy a summer with your peers. And the weather's obviously going to be amazing. Karen's guaranteed me the weather. And I look forward to having you guys there. And that's all I got. Update on the reno. I believe the office space is about a week and a half away to 2 weeks away from being complete. That's with the full reception desk and everything. 2 meeting rooms, management room and conveyance. And then we're going to tackle the 2 washrooms and redo the kitchen. So we have a fully operational kitchen with fridge, like there's going to be cupboard doors, fridge, freezer, dishwasher, and some cabinet space, and it's going to look nice and clean. So thank you for your patience, but we are open for business. And if you want to come in and do some work or meet somebody, there's always room for you to do that upstairs here. And it's looking really, really good. We're really happy with it. So thanks for the patience on it. And it's finally this week, we finally got stuff kind of cleared out. So it doesn't look like we're working with a whole bunch of desks and chairs piled in the middle. Does anybody have any questions for me?
One more thing, Mike, we got a PDP credit course, and for
Yes.
the Realty 101, Rhiannon's going to be talking about multiple offers tomorrow again. So please do attend that. Even if you're an experienced realtor, you can learn a little bit about it. For you new guys, attend anyway. And, if it's a little bit, don't understand all of it, we'll talk about it in the class next week, the week after, kind of thing like that. So for the experienced guys, it is a PDP credit course tomorrow, starts at 10 o'clock. Please be on time. Turn your cameras on. The whole thing is similar to the board rules we have for PDP credit courses. So you can register with Angel on that.
And Paul Hood gives his apologies. He had a last minute meeting he needed to attend to today. So if you have any mortgage questions, reach out to Paul for us as well. That's it for me, Doug.
Good for me. Okay, guys, have a great week. We'll see you next Tuesday, hopefully,
Ciao.
or Wednesday tomorrow.
Yes.
Bye now.